Yes.
This one is for
Look
Big
at the
J.
fittings. And the
So he gets
ceiling
his passport
with the
back.
Lancastrian rose. And the beautiful gilded wood there at the top. The pillars. It's the attention to detail which is ravishing, isn't it? But Gondola's history has been far from plain sailing. Demand for steam-powered cruising dwindled after the First World War, and the yacht was retired in 1936. Having served as a houseboat, the former Queen of Coniston suffered the indignity of more than a decade spent submerged in the lake.
My father was working for the National Trust about 40 odd years ago and was one of the people who had the vision to restore it.
Good for your dad. Quite right. Oh, wonderful. The restoration took 2 years and cost £400,000.
Wow!
And would this have been the colour initially?
Yes, based really on the interior of the railway carriages. So the first-class railway carriage on the Furness line would have been furnished like this. So ladies dressed in their Victorian attire would feel very comfortable in these surroundings. Yeah.
I feel quite comfortable in my 21st century attire. Just as then, gondola is now powered entirely by steam. I've been persuaded to make myself useful. I'm actually steering this boat, I want you to know.
You want to go faster, you just turn this
Well, you
wheel.
can't fuck up. There ain't any other boats on the river at the time.
No problem.
But I'm heading for the Watson.
That jetty, yeah, that's fine.
Is it?
Yeah, she's going to come round well before.
And there's someone swimming.
That's okay.
But we might drown them. Get out of the way, swimmers.
If you want to tell them that, if you're in your way, above your head, a piece of string there. Go on, give it a handful. There you go. It's time for me to disembark.
It's been a pleasure having you.
And thank you, Billy. Good boy. But I'm staying by the lake because to many people of my generation, if you mention Coniston Water, another name springs to mind.
Donald Campbell prepares in the traditional English manner for yet another
Prepares.
on the world water speed record.
Prepares.
Donald Campbell was a hero of my youth. In the 50s and 60s, he set speed records almost at will.
To the joy of everybody, a new record was set at 403.1 miles an hour.
When it came to water
Oh,
speed,
damn.
Campbell's natural home was Coniston Water and its village. I'm meeting Anthony Robinson, known as Rob, whose parents hosted Campbell during his various record attempts. So, but did your parents then run? It meant Rob grew up around the excitement of the famous Bluebird boat. This is Bluebird.
This is Bluebird, yes, going into the boathouse there, which is you see behind us. And if you look very carefully, you can actually see a little boy up a tree there.
I wonder who that is.
Well, it was somebody who was bunking off school. Unfortunately, the picture ended up in the paper, and somebody wanted to know why I was up a tree when I was supposed to be sick.
While Bluebird and the Campbells were in town, Coniston was packed out, with engineers, officials, the press corps, and expectant Campbell fans. But for the core team, record attempts could be an endurance test.
They were here for many months, many weeks on end, and sometimes the weather wasn't right. If the weather was right, the boat wasn't right. And so Mr. Campbell would say, right, you can spend £50 on your fancy dress, that's the limit, and the winner gets £1 at the end of the day. And you can see they're dressed up as chefs and climbers and all sorts.
Between 1956 and 59, Campbell broke the water speed record 4 times on Coniston. And in November 1966, he returned, determined to break the magic barrier of 300 miles per hour.
Wow.
It was a decision that has left an indelible mark on the village.
This is 1966. I was actually working for Donald by this time. See me, I'm actually in the little boat beside the Bluebird here.
Campbell waited and tinkered for nearly 2 months, even taking Bluebird out for a Christmas morning blast. But by the 4th of January 1967, everything seemed to have come together.
We came down early in the lovely frosty morning, and the lake was flat calm. Everybody was sort of fairly familiar that this could be the day.
Rob and Chief Engineer Leo Villa were in the support of it as usual.
tell it was very, very fast. And then we got the speed from the timekeepers, virtually 300 miles an hour.
Wow. Campbell turned and, in accordance with the rules, commenced his return run.
Fate was to strike.
As he crossed the start line, he was approaching 320 miles an hour. But Bluebird was losing stability.
We could see the boat come out of the water and did a complete somersault and then crash back into the water. We just sort of stood there watching it, to be honest. I can remember Leo Villa giving me a slap on the back and saying, "Come on, Robbie, for God's sake, get going." By the time we got to the accident scene, the boat had actually sunk.
Don't tell me he didn't have a seatbelt on.
Did the whole village go into mourning?
It was almost disbelief, really, to start with.
Yes.
Because so many record attempts have been so successful.
Yes.
But we just weren't used to failures.
In 2001, Campbell's body was discovered and the wreckage of Bluebird was finally raised.
2001?
He wasn't a local man by birth, but Donald Campbell
What the
became
fuck?
part of the Coniston story. His famous boat is now being restored, but
30-something years later?
will return. The Campbell family have made it clear Bluebird
Wow.
and its pilot belong in Coniston. Next, I discovered a company breed that is Beatrix Potter's real.
It's the lambs, they're younger than me.
And I meet the villagers planning to buy a mountain.
Bravo, and good luck.